everyone, and welcome to Sunup. I'm Lyndall Stout. One of the first fairs in the state, which is the Craig County Fair here in Vinita, is well underway. We'll tell you about what makes this fair so unique a little bit later in the show. But first, we're getting all caught up on summer crops. Here's Sunup's Dave Deacon and our Extension Cropping System Specialist, Josh Lofton.
It's been an unusually cool week across Oklahoma, and Josh, that's been good for the corn crop.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's been good for everything. It's been good for the people, it's been good for the crops. It's just been good all around. It's good to get out of those 100-degree weathers. It's also good for the bulk majority of the state, get a little rain. It really helping a lot of the crops that we still have out there that are on the earlier side of maturity, still needing a lot of good water. A lot of places in the state were getting pretty dry, and so a good drink with these nice cool weather is going to be beneficial.
We're getting closer to harvest of sorghum, but then also corn. What are some of the things that producers should be looking for when it comes to corn?
The very interesting thing, Dave, I think 2 weeks ago we were talking about management. Now we're needing to kind of move into maturity and judging when that crop is mature. You just can't do it by the turn row. We can't judge maturity by the turn row. You can't just say, oh, well, that corn is brown, it's ready to go, because we can have some really green corn, very genetic based, really green corn that can be at maturity. So once you get out into your corn crop, a nice area that you think represents the field, if you just take a cob out of the field, split it in half, that's kind of where we do a lot of our judgment. And what we like to do is see maturity on the bottom half and the top half right at the center. We see here, we grabbed a corn cob here. We're at full dent, which means that we have kind of finished that filling process. We have that formation of starch. And so then what we have to do is see where the kernels actually attach to the cob. And that's what we look for next. And how we know we've reached maturity is what we call black layer. Now this corn plant here that I grabbed is not quite there, but we're really close. And if you look right here, Dave, you see this little black pigment right within that kernel. We're probably a couple of days off of reaching that black layer. So what this corn plant does is it actually separates itself from the plant. So the kernels itself are separated from the plant. That's when we've reached maturity, and that's when we're just going into the dry down process. So once we hit that black layer, we probably have, depending on the weather, a week to maybe 2 weeks before we should be getting close to that maturity. The hotter and drier it is, the quicker that's going to go. If it stays cool and humid and we get these rainfalls, that seed moisture will probably stay up and it'll be a little longer.
Now from corn, we have the sorghum, and the sorghum looks really good for this time of year, but also this part of the state.
Yeah, the sorghum is looking really good. We've talked about it all year with these little pockets that don't look as good, but a bulk majority of the sorghum, all the way from the eastern side of the state through the panhandle, is in a really good spot right now. But we're kind of getting to the same point, Dave, as we are with corn. The good thing is that if you know how to do maturity on corn, sorghum's the same way. And if you kind of look, once again, we want to go about halfway through. We don't want to pick the outside kernels. We don't want to get the fully inside kernels. We want to get somewhere right in the middle of this cluster. If you break open this seed here and you kind of look for this little tip that it was attached to the plant, you see it's a little darkened right there.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. And once again, it's not quite at black layer, the sorghum is, but it's getting really close. And so the big thing with sorghum is, once again, the same thing with corn. We don't want to desiccate too early. A lot of our growers around the state desiccate sorghum, especially downstate. We don't want to desiccate too early because it's still forming that seed weight. And what we can do is lose a little bit of our test weight if we go out too early. Once we pull the trigger on sorghum for desiccation, we're probably about a week out of harvest.
Okay, thank you very much, Josh Lofton, Cropping System Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
Most spring cow-calf operations will breed the replacement heifers a few days, if not a few weeks ahead of the mature cow herd. And so that means that the spring-born heifers were bred starting in April and wrapping up sometime in late June. Well, that means that it's now approaching about 60 days after the breeding season for those replacement heifers, and that's a long enough period of time that most experienced veterinarians can come out and accurately preg check those heifers to determine which ones actually got bred and which ones perhaps failed to breed and are the open heifers that we need to consider culling. I think it's extremely important for cow-calf producers to identify those open replacement heifers as early as possible, and let's go ahead and get them sold. And that's for three pretty important economic reasons. Number one, we want to identify any heifer that may have something anatomically or physiologically wrong with her to where she just can't get bred. We want to get her identified and out of the herd as soon as possible. Number two is that if we decide that we're just going to keep her and find out next spring whether she has a calf or not, we've put that summer and winter feed cost into her before we actually identify the fact that she's an open cow next spring and not going to have a calf to help pay for some of those costs. Then the clinching point on this particular discussion for me is the change in value of those heifers between now, when they're still fairly young, something that's going to be, say, 16, 17 months of age when we do the pregnancy checking on them. That heifer can be culled, marketed for a really good price per pound because she's still young enough to go into the feedlot, be fed out as choice beef, and the buyers will recognize that and purchase her at a good price per pound. As opposed to if we wait until next spring to find out that she's a 2-year-old but is incapable, at least this year, of getting pregnant and having a calf, and then we decide to market her as a 2-year-old cow, then we'll have quite a little bit of loss in value. So I think it's very, very important that we take the time, schedule with your local veterinarian to get the replacement heifers pregnancy checked as soon as possible, identify the opens, let's go ahead and sell those, and that way we'll reduce some of those costs that we've just talked about. We hope that you'll tune in again next week and visit with us on Sunup's Cow-Calf Corner.
The 97th 4-H Roundup was last week, where hundreds of 4-H'ers from around Oklahoma got to come to the OSU campus. And for the first time, 9 of them got to spend some time behind the scenes with Sunup.
Go ahead, man.
Why did you join 4-H?
I joined 4-H because my mom was a 4-H'er before me, and my grandma and both my grandparents. So it kind of just was always around the family.
What do you enjoy about 4-H?
I enjoy meeting new people and getting to discover new project areas.
While Ag Television is not technically classified as an official 4-H project area, a group of Oklahoma 4-H'ers got the opportunity to see how we produce stories for our weekly television show. Last week during Roundup, 9 4-H'ers went with Sunup producer-director Ed Barron and myself as we showed them the basics of building and shooting a story.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so why did you join 4-H?
Actually, my mother talked me into joining 4-H at the beginning. She's like, oh, there's a shooting club, you want to go join? I was like, sure, why not? Let's go shoot guns instead. But once I entered 4-H, I had no idea the family I was joining and how unique it was compared to other clubs.
So what do you like most about 4-H?
Hanging out with people I met from other counties, really. And also going to Roundup and camps.
While Ed's group learned on campus, I took a group to Oklahoma State University's Klein Equine Center to get video of a hippology contest. Our students got to see how heavy our cameras are and how to get video to tell a story. When it was all said and done, they got to learn how we shoot interviews, and they actually got to shoot one with Oklahoma State University equine specialist Chris Heine.
Give me an example of what would be on like the tests that they have to take in the building.
So the written test, there's questions about disease, behavior, breeds, all sorts of different things. So they're actually doing 30 multiple choice questions, and then we have slides. So then we have a visual part of the test that's also multiple choice, but we show them pictures and then we ask them a question about the picture.
For more information about the Oklahoma 4-H program and how to participate in next year's Roundup, visit your local county extension office or visit our website, sunup.okstate.edu. Another week of movement in the market, and Kim, it's starting to look good.
Yeah, prices are back up. Well, actually, they're above where they were earlier in the year. You've got wheat prices up around $5.80, 85 cents, up around 95 cents to $1 from the low we've had recently. You look at corn prices recently, they're up 30 cents. You can forward contract corn for around $3.50 a bushel. Soybean prices are up 60 cents. You can look at a forward contract for harvest delivery right at $8, and Cotton's up, on the board around 88 cents. It just continues to stay high.
That's a lot of great news for Oklahoma producers. What's driving these rallies?
Well, it's the weather and lower production. You look at the forecast for Russian production, it continues to go down, and the quality of the crop lower. Right now, they're looking at, you had 3.1 billion last year. You're looking at 2.45 this year. Down 15 to 20%. But that's still an average crop if you look at a 5-year average. The European Union, their production's right now at 10% and going down, but it's still an average crop. Ukraine down 5%, still an average crop on the 5-year average. Now Australia's production is expected to be about the same as last year, but it's down 11% below average. So lower production around the world. You look at exports, Russian exports they're predicting it 250 million bushels less than last year. But Ukraine, 60 million of that, Canada 90 million of that, US 80 million of that, all better. And so lower exports from Russia, higher prices around the world.
Over the past growing season, there was a lot of talk about protein. Are producers seeing a premium on the protein?
Well, the premium is still there, but I think it's on the overall quality. You look at the spread between the spring hard red wheat and the hard red winter wheat. That spread was up $1.50. It's down now to 40 cents. But however, our strong basis has held well throughout the year.
Will we continue to see prices rising?
That's going to depend on what happens with production around the world, especially in Australia, Argentina, Soviet Union. If those crops continue to go down, then our prices will go down. If things stay as they are now, I think we're near the top. Prices will go up a little bit, but not a whole lot.
You're famous for your third, a third, and a third. As producers are looking at that approach, should they be moving towards pulling the trigger on some wheat right now?
Well, if you look at prices, export prices, we're at the top of the market as we look at prices on originating wheat from Australia or Russia, Ukraine. So right now I think our prices are pretty much near the top, and if the world prices don't go up, I don't think ours can go up. So I would take advantage I wouldn't sell the whole crop, right, but I'd pull the trigger on some wheat with this $5.80 price.
Okay, thank you much. Kim Anderson, grain marketing specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
Hi, Wes Lee here with your weekly Mesonet weather report. I'd like to start off by thanking Al Sutherland for his years of dedication to the Oklahoma Mesonet and the Sunup program. I wish him the best as he starts his retirement. Oklahoma is now in the middle of summer when temperatures usually peak at their highest levels of the year. This week, Mother Nature gave us a reprieve with some great early fall-like temperatures. On the 1st of August, we woke up with minimum temperatures in the 50s and 60s. The Panhandle recorded the lowest temperature, where Kenton and Eva both got as low as 53 degrees. Most of the state saw some nice rainfall this week as well. The 5-day rainfall accumulation as of August 1st shows Kenton had 0.2 of an inch on the low end, and Bowlegs in Seminole County recorded the most at 4.31 inches. Now here's Gary with more on the state's rain situation.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. Well, the rainfall and the wonderful temperatures we've had over the last week have certainly done a number on the drought we've been experiencing. Now, it didn't eradicate the drought, but it certainly stopped it in its tracks in most parts of the state, and in some cases completely eliminated it. So let's get straight to the new Drought Monitor Map and see what we have. We had a lot of red on the map last week, especially in northeast Oklahoma and then in southeast. That's that extreme drought. That's mostly been reduced to just bits and pieces here and there. We still have a large area of red, that extreme drought in far southwest Oklahoma. That is now the main core of the worst drought in the state, where drought seems to be intensifying each week as we go without further additional rainfall down in that area. July was looking pretty bad there for a while until the last week when we got those good rains. And now we have just a few areas that were below normal significantly during the month. Far southwest Oklahoma, bits of north central Oklahoma, and then of course along the Red River as previously mentioned. Now let's go out to the future and look at August. These outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center. We see increased odds of above normal temperatures across the entire state, except a little tiny corner in the far northeast. And as we look at precipitation, we see increased odds of below normal precipitation. The odds aren't greatly increased, but they are there. So that's not good news for that southern tier of the state, where we have the drought intensifying, increased odds of above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation. So Mother Nature threw us a Hail Mary last week, and now we need some more of those miraculous rains and good temperatures, and let's knock this drought clean out before we hit fall. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
U.S. trade wars continue to escalate, and the president has recently announced an aid package for agriculture. Here to talk about it is our Extension Ag economist, Larry Sanders. And Larry, just give us an overview of what's happened in the past week or so.
Well, we've seen the trade war heating up between the United States and China, and Trump had said that he was going to have the back of U.S. agriculture, and he provided a $12 billion program last week, and he outlined what would be in that program. And I think that the details show that there is indeed some special provisions that will help U.S. agriculture.
As Oklahoma producers start wrapping their head around all of this, what kind of guidance are you giving them, and what kind of things should they keep in mind as they digest all of this information?
Sure. Well, there's three aspects to the program. The first one is that there will be a direct payments program. So this is being fleshed out by the Farm Service Agency, which is typically where farmers go to sign up for programs. And the FSA should have the details of this worked out by Labor Day, but generally farmers will be told to go in and sign up, and in return for sign up they'll receive a payment rate based on how much they harvest on their land, because they will have to harvest a product. So that payment rate times what they harvest on their land will result in a check that they will receive as a direct payment. So that'll be part of what the $12 billion goes to. The second part will be a funding program that will buy surplus products such as fruit, nuts, beef, dairy, etc., to be distributed to food banks and other nutrition programs that will help reduce some of the downward pressure on price for these commodities. And the third one is going to be a trade promotion program to try to help find new markets for some of these commodities worldwide. The devil is always in the details. Is it enough? $12 billion is not enough to cover what China buys from us in a given year in agricultural goods and services. We'll just have to wait and see.
No doubt this part of the conversation kind of just starting. As we wait to learn more details about the package, your last kind of words of guidance for Oklahoma producers who maybe need to start getting some records organized in terms of what they may need to report to FSA?
Farmers need to have a good sense of what they are sitting on their land, what they have ready to harvest, because they're going to go in sometime after Labor Day and they're going to have to report on some form what they have in the ground or what they've just harvested, what they are going to harvest, and that number is going to be used to write their checks. So they've got to have that data in hand sometime within the next month.
Okay, great. Great information. Larry, keep us posted. Thanks a lot.
You may remember in October 2016 that down in the Florida Keys, the USDA confirmed that there were screwworms infesting the key deer down there. We haven't had a screwworm infestation in Oklahoma since 1976. So what's the big deal about screwworms? Unlike maggots, screwworms actually feed on living tissue. Maggots feed on dead tissue. So how do we get this problem under control? Well, in the 1950s, the USDA started what they refer to as the sterile insect technique. And this is based upon that the screwworm flies, the female, usually only mated once. So if we produced a sterile male that would mate with her, her eggs would not hatch. And if we did this continually over time, eventually we would eradicate the flies. Now, this process is still taking place every day at a facility down in Panama. The Screwworm Facility, which is run by the USDA, is a really amazing facility. I had the privilege of visiting that facility back in February. It was really amazing to see this facility. It was amazing how precise everything is done at that facility, from the diet all the way through till the end when the flies are released. It's just amazing. This facility is estimated that it's probably saving livestock producers in North America in excess of $200 million a day. If you see somebody from the USDA, we ought to really thank them for how much work they've done in this, because it saves us all a lot of time and energy when we take care of our cattle. If you would like some more information about screwworm and that facility, if you'll go to Sunup at okstate.edu.
Finally today, a look at just a few of the reasons why people keep coming back to the longest running county fair in the state of Oklahoma. Here's Sunup's Curtis Hare.
Everybody's having a great time. We've had the hog show this morning and we're getting ready to weigh in the sheep and goats this afternoon. They're doing the poultry show and it goes on all week long and the people really like that. There's 4 towns in Craig County: Welch, Blue Jacket, Ketchum, and Vinita. Get to come to the county fair and see everybody and sit around and reminisce old times, and it's a great time. The young people like it because they get to come down, see friends. School's been out all summer. Get to visit with them and joke and laugh about their livestock and have a good time together and help one another.
Today, I've had to bring our goats in to weigh them in, and we have to weigh them in and shave them and get them ready for tomorrow morning. And if they don't make weight, you don't get to show it. But if it does, it does.
How many years have you been coming to this fair?
Well, I moved. This will be my 2nd year. Last year I showed a steer. It ain't my first time showing though, so it gets people to come around and get to do something during this year, part of the year. Like it's all a week deal, and I think most of the little kids like coming and playing on the inflatables. So I think it's pretty fun for all of us to come up here and do something.
Me and my friends like to mess around and all that.
What do you like about roping?
I don't know what to tell you. It's really fun.
What do you like about showing pigs?
Well, I don't know. It's just really fun.
This county fair's got a lot of history.
The fair started in 1882. We're the longest running free fair in Oklahoma. History shows that it was the same thing. It was canning and showing animals and sewing and all the same things that we do today.
I just get a real joy out of sewing. I'm 98. I've always entered in the fairs. Ever since I had my first children, and one boy is 65 now.
In the past, you used to bring 100 items, and I'm not joking at 100. We have an award each year for the top number of entries, and Doris has been in the top 3 as long as I can remember.
I get very excited. Of course, I get very nervous about it because I'm always afraid I'll fail, and I sometimes lose a little rest because I can't sleep. That's just my joy. I just love to sew. So I'm always figuring out something I can do that day, something I can make, or what I can share with somebody. And I like to make things that I can give away. This one's over, I start on the next one. I don't know what I'd do if they'd stop.
That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime on our website and also follow us on YouTube and social media. From the Craig County Fair in Vinita, I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, Oklahoma agriculture starts at sunup.